Hi, I'm Bob Bullwinkle. I'm the Visual and Performing Arts Manager at the Fresno County Office of Education. Really happy to be here today with students from Millennium Charter High School. We're going to talk about an issue that I think is vital, not just for the students in our schools, but for their teachers and their educational leaders and their whole community. And that is, how can we bring the transformative power of the arts into our schools? We all know that the arts are essential for a well-rounded education. We know that 93% of Americans think that the arts should be a part of their kids' education. But you know what? In California, only 1 in 10 students has that opportunity. So we're here today to talk about how we can integrate the arts across the curriculum, but especially with new standards in English language arts and mathematics. Because the arts don't end at the visual art door, the dance door, the theater door, the music door. They extend throughout the school and can be a vital part of all of our education. So today we're going to talk about integrating the arts with new state standards in English language arts and mathematics. But first, I want you to look at this image. Since 1997, we've been operating under No Child Left Behind and the standards enacted in that year. I think there are some parallels between No Child Left Behind and the image you're seeing right now. In this image, everything is separated. It's bland, it's cold, it's static, it's not aesthetically pleasing. It doesn't make you want to have something to eat. It's mass producible. It's exactly the same for every kid, no matter what they want to eat for lunch, right? And the arts are probably not even the little cookie. The arts might be the ketchup, right? Something totally non-essential in this meal. So to me, this is a great visual metaphor for what we've done in our schools under No Child Left Behind. We've tried to treat every child as though they were the same, that they learned the same way. And we've taken our subjects, English, math, science, social studies, arts, and we've separated them. We've imposed these really artificial dichotomies where we've said, oh, music, you must learn that on its own because it has nothing to do with mathematics. Oh, English language arts must be its own specific box because it doesn't in any way affect the world of visual art. But is that the way we learn as human beings? Do we learn in those little, like, discrete little chunks, like those chopped up portions of the plastic tray? Of course not. We know that everything we do is connected, right? And in our lives, we don't stop and say, now I will learn English, now I will learn math. We see those connections everywhere. And so arts integration is really about helping people to make those connections in the classroom so that their classes come to life, so that they're interesting and engaging, and more importantly, they touch us where we are as human beings because they integrate the arts. So here's another visual metaphor. And I think this could be what schools look like in our new ELA and math standards era. So this dish is aesthetically pleasing. It's integrated. It's appetizing, and it has a little bit of something for everybody. And if you think about the 4 C's, communication, critical thinking, collaboration, and creativity, and think about the chefs that prepared this meal versus the first meal, right? This meal took some thought, it took some planning, it took some creativity, it took some communication among probably several different chefs working on different aspects of the dish to produce it in a timely manner but still look appealing. So to me, this is a great metaphor for what Common Core can bring to our schools. A chance for us to meet every kid where they are. A chance for us to really engage them in learning that's important to them and that integrates across curricular walls. And that's what we're going to talk about today. A couple of overarching themes. I want to talk a little bit about 3 overarching themes. The first is that in the era of Common Core, the arts are text. When we talk about close reading, we're not just talking about language arts text, we're talking about paintings and infographics and websites and movies and scenes from plays and musical compositions, all of those can be read and responded to in the Common Core era. So the lowest hanging fruit for teachers to grasp is that, oh, in my class, we don't have to read an expository paragraph. We can look at a painting and respond to that. So that's really the entry-level point for teachers. But once you've got that idea that the arts can be text, then you can go to the next level, which is that the arts can help students demonstrate their understanding through visual art, theater, dance, and music. So students can paint their understanding of mathematics. Students can dance their understanding of science. Students can compose their understanding of engineering. So we give them the vehicle of the arts to demonstrate their understanding. And the third theme is that the arts are an essential part of preparing students to be successful in the new assessment paradigm. So we've moved from, in California, the STAR test to SBAC, the Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium. The students in this room have probably been tested under SBAC. We believe that the arts prepare them to be more successful in that testing model, and today we're going to look at why and how we can create that kind of success for many different students. So those are the overarching themes we're going to talk about. So the first theme is looking at the arts as text. In this case, it's visual art, but performing arts can also be text, can also be information that students interact with. We're going to do a little bit of a demonstration of how that could work in a classroom when students are reading visual art. And we have some members of our audience who are going to help with that. So what I'd like you to do is take a look at these 3 questions that we're going to apply to some visual art. This isn't my work, this is work from a group called Visual Thinking Strategies. 3 simple questions. What's going on in this picture? What do you see that makes you say that? And what more can we find? And it's just a way to get students talking about art and thinking about the narrative that's behind the artwork, and most importantly, asking them to find evidence to support their thinking. So those are the 3 questions we're going to be asking our studio audience. And I'm going to show you an image that is a little bit shocking. The image is from the 1960s, painted by a very famous American painter who I'll talk to you more about in just a minute. But it comes from a very specific time in our country's history when racial tensions were at their peak. Central in the image is a word that we would never use in society today. I use it in this image because I know that it was essential to the understanding of that time period. So I want to prepare you for that so you're not shocked. But I'd like all of you to look at this image. The first thing I'd like you to do is to really look at the image. Not just glance at it, but really observe it. So we're going to take 30 seconds, and I'd like you to let your eyes dance over it, absorb as many details as you can, and see where your mind takes you as you're looking at this image. Now I'd like you to think to yourself, what's going on in this picture? What's the story here? So the first question that we ask when looking at the arts as text in this visual thinking strategies model is, what's going on in this picture? Trying to think about what is the story that's being told, what's the narrative? So Sierra, when you look at this picture, what do you think is going on?
Well, actually, to be honest, when you first said that there would be a word that would be a bit concerning, my eye immediately went to that. But then I actually saw the rest of the picture, and I really focused on the armbands that, if I'm not mistaken, say U.S. Marines, which is very concerning too. And then I noticed the little girl who has the ruler and the book and the pencils in her hand, and then I believed this is probably during a time period where certain kids actually had to be escorted to school by officials of the government for their own safety.
Mm-hmm. In Common Core terms, what Sierra and Harrison are doing is they're making observations and then they're citing evidence to support their observations. And we could have further conversation about the reality that was happening here as the U.S. Marshals escorted Ruby Bridges to school. But I think you see the idea that we're talking about reading the art, really looking at it, drawing conclusions, and then being able to defend our conclusions. So do either of you see anything else going on? Is there anything more that we can talk about?
I actually now see very hidden on the wall I think it says KKK. It might be X's. Yeah. And I'm just wondering, it really must be a rather bad neighborhood if there's like graffiti there, you know, and no one just cares, or maybe it's just a neighborhood that doesn't seem to like African Americans at that time very much.
Thank you. Anything about the escort that she has that you notice?
Well, it looks like they're all in step with each other by the way they're walking on the same foot and the same stride.
So that's maybe why you interpret them as being from the military. Great. So actually this picture is called The Problem We All Live With. It was painted by a famous American illustrator named Norman Rockwell in 1964. And as I kind of let slip, it is the story of Ruby Bridges, who was going to the first integrated school in New Orleans, Louisiana. And as you can tell, there were a large segment of the population that didn't want that to happen and tried to stop it from happening. And the U.S. Marshals were there to ensure that Ruby was safe on her way to school. So thanks to Sierra and Harrison, appreciate your help. So the first idea we talked about was that the arts can be text, and thanks to Harrison and Sierra, we really saw how that could work in a classroom with students really observing artwork. But then we talked about demonstrating understanding through the arts to show what they've gleaned from that close reading. And we're going to show an example of how that could work. But first, for a little background information, if you look at this image from Life magazine at the very same time that that portrait was being painted by Norman Rockwell, you see a tableau. A tableau is a frozen image, a frozen picture. So I want you to remember that theater word, tableau. We also see some text by Martin Luther King from Letters from a Birmingham Jail that we would pair with the visual art piece and let students listen to an authentic voice from that time about what was happening and why those tensions were so high on both sides. But arts integration is really about students demonstrating what they know by creating art that shows it. So we're going to do just a little bit of that. And I'm going to ask my studio volunteers to create a tableau that shows their understanding of the word racism. So to demonstrate this idea that the arts can express understanding, we have 3 students from Millennium Charter School, Howard, Octavio, and Valeria, and they're going to show you a tableau, a frozen image of their interpretation of those 2 pieces of text. I'm going to count them down. You guys ready? 3, 2, 1, tableau. And unfreeze. Huge round of applause. It's important to understand that in arts integration, arts have to be taught rigorously. So in that exercise, we would use a tableau checklist to help students really understand and be able to assess their skill in creating a tableau. So it's not just arts as an extra fluff, it's arts as rigorous learning. We gave them a performance task, which was to demonstrate their understanding of 2 different pieces of text through Tableau. And I want you to remember that phrase, performance task, because it's important to what I want to mention to you next. All of this comes from the Visual and Performing Arts Framework for the state of California. Did you even know that California had a Visual and Performing Arts Framework and standards, just like ELA and math and social studies and science? Well, we do. These exercises in arts integration push your students to deeper levels of knowledge. If you look at the depth of knowledge chart, you'll find that words like create, synthesize, apply, innovate, all are in level 4 of that depth of knowledge chart, which is what we just asked students to do, to create an image that shows their understanding of complex text. The last thing I want to leave you with is that arts integration and the arts in general prepare students for this new testing paradigm. Here's an image created not by me, but by the Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium. These are their elements of a performance task. What should students be able to do when they're tested? They take stimulus like text and graphs and artistic presentations and photo and media like we just did, right? And that magic word, etc. So their stimulus can be any piece of art. They go through information processing, right? They have different ways that they engage with that text. And then at the other end, they create something. They have a performance task like writing an essay or a story or a script or a display or a model, a design, an oral presentation, and then that magic word, etc. So when we talk to the folks at Smarter Balanced Assessment, they say any artistic product can be a way to assess student learning in other areas. So you can show me in your tableau that you grasp the concepts illustrated in the written text by Martin Luther King and the visual text by Norman Rockwell. The power of the arts is unlimited to change student lives. Before I was in my current position, I was a teacher in the public schools for 25 years. And I worked in schools that were in the most challenging environments you can imagine. My students went on to be successes in life, no matter where they started from. And when I talk to them now, to a person, they tell me that it was their experience in music or drama or art or theater that made that happen for them. Are they all artists now? No. They're doctors and lawyers and paleontologists and real estate agents and small business owners. They're all kinds of things, but they all say that the skills they learned in their arts class was what made their life a success. And that's the thought I want to leave you with today. Thanks to all the students from Millennium Charter School for joining us. We really appreciate your help.